The surf's up this Saturday as the crew of the new Baywatch limber up for action. At 6:15 there's muscle-bound entertainment in the all-action Gladiators, so follow the laughter and the tears. And Silla's playing Cupid in search of love at first sight.
Well, I'm going to watch this space. We certainly all are, aren't we, ladies and gentlemen?
Saturday night on Scottish, it's the space to watch.
Don't be bored!
Call.
Friends!
What's the number now?
0891 27 27 27.
Ooh!
It's no wonder men wash their hair more than women.
But too much washing and towel drying can leave it weak and unhealthy looking. That's why, for frequent washing, I recommend Pantene Pro-V. Its pro-vitamin B5 nourishes the roots and penetrates to the very tip, strengthening your hair and leaving it healthy looking. Every time you wash.
Pantene daily treatment for healthy looking hair.
When your smoke alarm goes off, make sure you know what to do. Plan your escape now, or you might live to regret it.
And finally, huge tailbacks were caused in the city today and pedestrian traffic was put at an all-time high as Landmark made this stunning announcement. Across a huge range of their quality suites, carpets, living and dining room furniture, you can buy now, then receive up to 4 years interest-free, which includes nothing to pay for a whole year. It's a truly unmissable offer. So that's it. I'm off down to Landmark now to see why they say...
We're simply the best.
The nothing to pay for a year offer is also available at Landmark's new Italian Leather Sweet Centre. Now on.
We're simply the best.
The unmistakable sound of Gerry Rafferty on One More Dream.
You shouldn't worry.
All his hits and more on one classic album,
If you get it wrong, you'll get it right next time. One more,
including Baker Street, Stuck in the Middle with You, and Night Owl.
one more dream, but it's looking okay.
One More Dream, the very best of Gerry Rafferty, out now on CD and cassette.
In Starland, all the people are made from deliciously light and bubbly chocolate from Milky Way. There's Popstar, and he's not very happy because he's going nowhere fast. But Brightstar has a bright idea. Then Jessstar has an even brighter idea. And now Popstar's going somewhere very fast indeed. New light and bubbly Milky Way magic stars. The magic's in the Milky Way.
Hello there, now the Scottish news. Women across Scotland have besieged doctors' surgeries following the government's warning that some brands of the contraceptive pill are more likely to cause thrombosis. In a virtually unprecedented move, family planning clinics across the country will be open all weekend to offer advice to worried women. Linda Kennedy reports.
Another call from a worried woman to a local health centre. Demands for appointments have soared across the country as women on the pill seek to find out how much danger they're really in. Doctors say chaos has been created because they weren't told of the government's warning.
We had to rush through some patient leaflets and try and decide what our staff should be telling patients who were calling us for advice. And that's quite difficult since it was the government's information that had caused the stir in the first place.
But the substance of the warning, as well as the government's handling of it, has now been condemned. The scientist who wrote a report on the health risks has called the warning premature.
I was particularly indignant about the hasty and inappropriate use of our findings, unfettered by any thought, if you wish. You can't think through these issues in 2 days.
A woman on the pill faces a 1 in 10,000 chance of developing thrombosis or blood clots. That risk doubles for a woman on the brands of pills singled out by the government warning. But these risks are small compared to those faced by any pregnant woman. Too many women have now heard the government warning for them to be easily persuaded that they shouldn't worry. And that's why the family planning centres are making the rare move of staying open over the next 2 days. They expect a large number of women who receive the same advice.
We explain the facts of the research, which the most important thing the free studies have shown is the pill is a very safe form of medication. It does, however, show that certain brands carry a very slightly increased risk of thrombosis.
The confusion surrounding the warning has left women not knowing which level of risk to believe.
Well, I think it's actually ridiculous that the doctor can put you on a pill, you're trusting your doctor, and then you find out this.
I'm quite sure in a couple of years' time they're going to make another survey, and the pill I'm actually changing to right now, there's also going to be something wrong with that.
Tonight, Scotland's Chief Medical Officer stood by the government's warning.
The reason the government has done this is that if a risk is avoidable, even if it is small, it's sensible to avoid it. And we have these older pills still available, and the risk is lower with them.
As the controversy rages on, the biggest fear of everyone on either side of the debate is that women confused by the arguments will opt to stop taking their pills, and the number of unplanned pregnancies may rise.
The Conservatives and the SNP have both been challenged to say if they will back or block a Scottish Assembly. Members of the Constitutional Convention meeting today in Edinburgh formally agreed the plans for a devolved Parliament, but they now want to know what their opponents will do. This report from our political correspondent Fiona Ross.
Today's meeting, although not particularly well attended, was the culmination of 6 years of detailed negotiation, involving Labour, the Liberal Democrats, local councils, churches, trade unions and voluntary groups. Their plan would give Scotland a parliament with 129 members, ideally with equal numbers of men and women, 56 elected by proportional representation and financed by a block grant from Westminster. Today, past differences were forgotten. The Green Party, who'd walked out, were back. The STUC were on board after a row about gender equality. Against all the predictions of opponents, agreement had been reached. But how are these opponents now going to react? This was raised last night on Scottish television when the four party leaders debated the Constitution.
Would you promise, Michael, not to abolish or restrict the powers of a Scottish Parliament in the future if you were part of a future Tory government? Will you give that promise tonight?
I am not Mystic Meg. I can't tell you what the position is going to be if these proposals were ever to be implemented and the damage that was done.
That was picked up today by Scottish Liberal Democrat leader Jim Wallace.
TV last night, we hear Michael Forsyth saying that he wasn't Mystic Meg, and we should be reassured that he doesn't have an identity crisis. But whilst the Mystic Lady has no direct input into the outcome of the lottery, Michael Forsyth does have a direct input into the Tory response as to whether the Scottish Parliament, once established, will be whether they would seek to abolish it or not.
Alex Salmond isn't going to predict the future either. He wants to see what a Scottish Parliament bill actually says before pledging support, which isn't good enough for George Robertson.
And the Nationalists
the serial whingers of Scottish politics whose separatist ambitions will be nipped in the bud can't avoid the message of our scheme's popularity that we can expect the usual cheap but ineffective sniping.
This vigil for a Scottish Parliament has now been here for 1,289 days. After the Constitutional Convention's plans for a Scottish Parliament, their goal may be nearer. But of course, whether or not Scotland gets a Parliament depends entirely on the outcome of the next election. And I'm not Mystic Meg either.
An 82-year-old woman has been telling of her shock after she was conned out of her savings by bogus workmen. The pensioner was alone in her Glasgow home when the men called claiming to be council plumbers. 15 minutes later, a man claiming to be a water official swindled an elderly couple out of a three-figure sum of money. Bernard Ponsonby reports.
The first incident happened at lunchtime on Wednesday. The victim, an 82-year-old widow, opened her door to two individuals who pretended to be council plumbers. One individual kept the old woman talking, whilst the other stole a three-figure sum of money she kept in a wallet, along with her pension book.
I'll get it, don't worry, but I just hope and pray to God they're caught. As they swindle, that should get the burps, they should bring it back.
Police are looking for two men in connection with the incident. The first is described as between 5'8" and 5'10", around 30, with short black hair. The second, between 5'3" and 5'5", aged between 30 and 35, is of medium build with short fair hair. Shortly after this first incident, an elderly couple aged 82 and 79 fell victim to a man who pretended to be a water board official. Once inside their home, he stole several £100. And the Glasgow victim has one simple piece of advice for pensioners.
Don't let them in. Don't let them in until you're really sure they are genuine people.
And that message was being reinforced today by police officers. They insisted that people posing as workmen should not be allowed into homes until identification has been produced.
A man who raped an 11-year-old girl 3 times has been jailed for 7 years. The High Court in Edinburgh heard how 32-year-old James McDowell from Kilmarnock raped the youngster when his pregnant girlfriend lost interest in sex. McDowell admitted carrying out the attacks at the girl's house in Glasgow between January 1992 and July 1993. The mother of a 14-year-old girl has called for an inquiry into how her daughter could have become involved with a 19-year-old young offender serving time at Glenacle near Alloa. The girl received several suggestive letters from the inmate after speaking to him through the perimeter fence. John Mackay reports.
The relationship began when the girl was in these woods near the prison. The prisoner had called to her from the young offenders block and struck up a conversation. Since the meeting, he has sent the girl more than 10 letters on prison notepaper. One said, "I can't wait until I get out. The first thing I'm going to do is get a bottle of Bucky." It added, "Take the day off school so at last we can meet in person." The letter went on to make some crude suggestions. When the girl's mother found the letters, she was astounded and angry.
Well, I feel quite bitter at the way they've handled it, and they've said anything within the perimeter fence is up to them, anything beyond the perimeter fence is up to the public. But I don't think that's right. They're in there to keep them away from the public because they're no fit for society, but they can get in contact with the public at any time.
Prison officials say that as soon as the problem was drawn to their attention, the prisoner was moved away from the fencing. As for the letters, under European law, they are not allowed to censor prisoners' mail. They claim there is no risk to security.
As far as the prison is concerned, that is the end of the matter, which is little comfort to the girl's mother, who accuses prison officials of washing their hands off the affair. She says the damage has already been done, and she fears greatly the prisoner's release at the beginning of next month.
Well, he could come looking for her at any time, and I'm absolutely petrified that he actually catches up with my daughter, and I don't know what could happen to her.
The prisoner was jailed in July for what was described by a sheriff as a despicable crime, the theft of an old soldier's bank book. His family insist he didn't know how young the girl was.
And that's it for now from the Scottish Newsroom. We will, of course, have regular updates throughout the weekend. But for now, from everyone on the Late Team, do have a very good night. Bye-bye.
Hello there. Well, during this evening there have been clear skies in many areas of the country. Temperatures have fallen pretty sharply, giving us a cold night with a fairly widespread frost developing during the early hours. There's also going to be some patchy mist in some of the glens, with temperatures falling as low as -2 Celsius. So it's looking like a fairly cold start to Saturday. The clear skies making for a crisp, cold autumnal morning, but there will be plenty of sunshine around. The winds are going to be calm, a light southerly breeze picking up later, however. Now that fine weather should continue for much of the afternoon. Still plenty of sunshine around, but there is some unsettled weather on the way. The cloud will begin to build up later in the day, and there will be a freshening south to southeasterly wind by evening, but temperatures should be around 11 Celsius. On Sunday, a bright but breezy morning for all areas, but showers will spread to the west later, some of them heavy and blustery. Temperatures around 11 to 13 Celsius. That's all for the moment.
Quick Fit, at your service, come rain or shine.
Browns in bed!
79, 79, 79!
How do you feel today? Sensible? Playful? Desirable? At Specsavers, we believe it's how you feel about your spectacles that matters. So buy our complete spectacles from $59.95 or above and choose a stylish pair from the same range for free. Specsavers Opticians. Local eye care. Nationwide.
A Disney classic. The enchanting tale of two traditional enemies.
I'm a fox. I'm a hound.
Who became firm friends. Voted Best Children's Video of 1994 in the US. How much will your kids love Disney's classic, The Fox and the Hound?
Weight Watchers from Heinz introduce new chicken in a creamy peppercorn sauce. Exotic chicken korma. And chicken in a tasty honey and mustard sauce. All have the flavor you expect of a range from Heinz. But because they're healthy recipes from Weight Watchers, all are low in fat.
Celebrate with Night Fever! For the first time, 40 classic disco stompers. Shake a groove thang to Sister Sledge, Chic and KC and the Sunshine Band.